Go live. All right, welcome everyone to Mindful or Mindful Part 2. I'm Stacy Casson, your host. I'm a very tan woman with short, wavy, salt and pepper curly hair. I'm wearing clear glasses. I have in a yellow flower. I'm wearing a burgundy polka dot dress with a black cardigan, and I have a brown weave pattern behind me. I'm going to let my guest, Rajesh Ravisankar, introduce himself.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rajesh Ravisankar, also known as Mindful Agility Overlord. I am a very dark brown man with no hair, wearing an orange shirt with black eyebrows. I'm excited to be here, and thank you again, Stacy, for this part two.
Well, thank you so much for returning with us, Rajesh. So excited to have you. And everyone, like we have done in the past, we want to give you a moment to arrive, not affiliated with T Mobile, but we're going to take a moment to arrive. Feel free to close your eyes, whatever makes you comfortable. Right. So let's enjoy this. Whoops. Let's enjoy this webinar. Ah, sorry. Okay. So team, we have a Slido for you. You can either take a picture with your phone to join the link or just come to slido.com hashtag 8077572, and we'll take a look in the comments if you're unable to join. But what is the biggest challenge for in-person meeting? Somebody's already said they can't get their work done, but if you would just take a moment to put in your vote or put it in the chat. And if you also would let us know where you're coming from, if you are team replay, team live, and just take a moment to help us understand some of the biggest pains that you have when you're doing in-person meetings. Too much info? Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of people try and cram so much into a small amount of time.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm monitoring the chat, so please, if you had something else, please share in the chat. And Ibis, I don't know why you're still in my account, but we're happy to have you. So just we'll deal with that later. So too much info. Okay, yeah. Oh, Danique, so good to see you. Awesome sauce. Yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes. And this will help us as we're doing. Hello from London. I'm in Florida, and Rajesh is in an undisclosed bunker.
Yeah. I'm joining live from an undisclosed location.
Okay.
Just kidding. I'm in Louisville.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for those of you that are here today. Okay, so a lot of the majority of you all can't get your work done. That's a big one. There's some overwhelm, and I haven't seen it in the chat, but if we miss your comment, we'll we'll address in the chat.
Yeah.
So you put something else, and that's totally fine. Cool. So we're going to keep going. And my first question is, do you even have their attention? So allegedly, that the average span of a human attention is less than that of a goldfish. I
Hmm.
don't know how the audience feels about that, but that's actually been busted. um, they they had there was issues with how they're defining attention and when somebody's more engaged in something versus another. But maybe you all found that surprising. Maybe you find it easy to believe. And hello, Mrs. and Mr. Steelers, welcome to the party. But we did find that the average person checks their phone 144 times a day. So pair that when you're planning your meetings and just think about if we actually have their attention. And any thoughts or feelings about this in the chat? I mean, I'm checking my phone just because I'm looking at the comments, but I'm definitely guilty of that. Rajesh, how about you? How's your phone usage?
So I would say it is bad as well. But during meetings, what I do is I make sure we set some guiding principles walking into a meeting. So we want to make sure it's distraction free so that
Mm-hmm.
we can focus. And also, um, the first 5 minutes of the meeting is going to determine whether the meeting contributes anything for me or if I am contributing anything to the meeting. And if both of those, or if any one of those does not work, we mutually agree to leave so that we reclaim our time and we respect our time.
I love that. That's a really great leadership attribute. And Ibis is smart enough to not have a phone. So you can survive without a phone.
Yeah.
So the other thing we're talking about is that paying attention, Rajesh. And this is a graph according to Meeting King that after the first 15 minutes of a meeting, as you can see, the attention tends to wane down. So we've got to grab them. And it's the same thing when you're posting on social media. It almost seems that things get shorter and shorter. Even when I'm writing emails, I try and get the bulk of what I need them to do in the first two lines for the people with short attention spans. And then I explain a little bit more as it goes down, but it seems like we have to capture people's attention from the get-go when we're doing these meetings. And it's also interesting that people have really strong feelings about meetings, and a lot of people feel it's a waste of their time precisely because they're not getting their regular work done and they're stuck in these meetings. I don't know how our audience feels, and please feel free to put that in the chat, team audience, how you all feel about that, um, the meetings, and if they're productive or worthwhile. Some of you've already mentioned there's too much info. So it's story time. As you all know how we work, or if you're new to our Mindful or Mindful, stories tap into our subconscious. They kind of help to bypass the gatekeeper of our brain. And we like to use stories to share truth. It's kind of if you watch a movie, you can relate to the characters and your brain feels safe because it's a movie. That's why sometimes a lot of people like horror shows because they can process their fear and anxiety in a safe space because it's not happening for real. It's just a movie. So,
Hmm.
same thing. Welcome, Kia Nestor. We see your test in the YouTube side. So, we're going to start out, and this time around, we're going to use I've got some pictures from a random picture generator to spark that conversation. So, the first question that we'll tackle is what is happening? And Rajesh, you had a really interesting thought process about what came up for you when you saw this soda can. So why don't you share?
Sure. So this soda can, when it's opened, it gives me a picture of I don't know what's inside or what I am getting into. I trust that there is a can of soda inside, but I wouldn't know until I take a sip.
Right. So maybe somebody even spiked your drink. So for the idea of having a story, we'll have a main character, right? A story should have a main character. So let's go about meeting Koki. I know, such a unique name. But Koki is getting ready to start their day. They have a ton of projects, and we have to do all day meetings. So talk about opening something up and not knowing what's inside. Are these meetings going to be productive? Are they going to be a good use of my time? Or are they just going to be a waste of time like everything else is? I don't know, for the audience, have you ever had a really good meeting where you felt good about it and fired up and yes, I'm ready to go? I have, but Rajesh, have you had a really good meeting?
Um, yes, I have. Well, I would I would put the question this way. Yeah, when was the last time you had a good meeting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or is
actually, I
there
had
any?
one this week.
Nice. Because
Yeah.
I would say me having a good meeting the last time was probably in a distant memory, maybe 6 months or more.
Yeah, and Kia Nestor, not even a little. They have not had any good meetings. So let's see what we can do about this. So what is the challenge, right? We're having these poor meetings, and we have a picture of lavender and these fields. So kind of what comes to mind for you, Rajesh? Oliver had one 2 years ago. That's the
Wow.
last good meeting he's had. So what's the challenge that Koki is facing?
So when I look at this picture, I am, entering a field. It is vast, it is huge. So now I can be overwhelmed by the amount of information that's in front of me, but I am not going to let that happen. Instead, I am going to slow down and I am going to I am going to take in the smells and I am going to take in the sights so that I can appreciate both of them. That gives me a moment to be mindful. And then when I am able to center myself and slow down, I will be able to have a greater extent of focus.
Okay, and Danique says that she enjoys meetings with a clear outcome, like an interview or sales call, as opposed to strategy sessions or quick chats. I feel you on that. So when I'm looking at this picture myself, I'm thinking about Koki. I think a couple things. Koki might have an office plant or a nice view, and also in the background we see these neat orderly lines, and I think sometimes meetings interrupt our neat orderly lines. But I also loved how you talked about this enticing view, and I think a lot of times our assumptions also come into play when we think about meetings. It's almost like the meetings are something that are happening to us, and sometimes we can view it as an opportunity to change the outcome of the meeting, to smell the roses and really be present for what is happening to us. And maybe we can be a part of defining that clear outcome that Danique is talking about. I also thought about Koki maybe having some anxiety about the meetings. These are new people or a new situation, or if you have to be the one your boss tagged to present, there could be that fear of public speaking as well. So I think there's a lot of challenges. And as we did our informal poll, the physical discomfort, we get hungry, or if you're sitting or expected to sit all day, now you're sore,
Yeah.
because you're just in one position all day. Even with the sit stand desk, then you're on your feet all day. So those are some of the things that come to mind for me and poor Koki. So Rajesh, what can help Koki overcome this challenge?
So we slowed down, we took in the smells and the sights and the sounds. So now, as we slow down, we'll be able to focus or zoom in on what we are going to tackle, our outcome, like Danique rightly mentioned. Now,
Yeah.
this is a cue, and you have the white ball, and in front of you, you have stripes and solids and the cue ball or the eight ball. So, when you slow down and you focus, you will be able to, if you're playing stripes, you will focus only to pocket stripes. You will automatically not be pocketing solids, or you will be aware not to pocket solids. And you'll be more so aware not to pocket the cue ball, because that means game over. So, this is going to help you to break stuff down into smaller chunks that you can easily divert your attention or focus to. So it's bunch of smaller pictures that will weave the canvas into the bigger picture. Because
Yeah. So
when we look at the bigger picture, we can easily get overwhelmed. Instead, if we look at smaller blocks, it's easy to focus, complete one item, and feel we have accomplished something, and then move on to the next. That way, you don't feel like you are burning out as well.
right. And for those of you that the picture is unclear, we're seeing a game of pool. The white ball, which is the ball that begins the game, there's the pool stick that is chalked and ready to strike. So I think Koki is going to think strategically about the meeting. As we started our meeting, we took a minute to arrive and set some intentions. If you attended Mindful versus Mindful Part 1, I think some of those strategies that we had for the online meetings can carry over. Things like breathing. We can always breathe in person. There are some very rare physical conditions that breathing is a struggle, but generally you can breathe and nobody notices. Like we've talked about, taking a deep inhale, inhale again, and letting go. You can quietly do box breathing, which is breathing in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. Strategically, especially if you have several meetings back to back, maybe think about packing snacks, um, calf raises. We've talked about movement in meetings, and gently raising your calves is something that you can do pretty subtly. And what were the benefits of that again, Rajesh? Please remind me.
So you can um, slow down your heart rate. That means you will be able to apply laser focus, and you can minimize distractions, and you will be able to increase your attention span.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. So, other things that we can do to think strategically is ask for an agenda in advance. If we're being invited to meetings or if it's going to be an all day meeting, ask for an agenda in advance. And we're going to discuss a little bit more on some of the other actions we can take. So, Koki had their day planned. Now we have in person meetings, and maybe some of them because we've remembered very vaguely when we have had good and productive meetings. And I also want to take a moment for leaders because you're the ones generally making us have these meetings. And there is a cartoon here by markcartoonist.com, and it's a bunch of people in a meeting with their laptops. And the agenda for this meeting is trying to figure out why we're having this meeting. And according to Meeting King, again, let's use some hypothetical numbers. Let's say you have 5 people and they make about $100,000 a year, and you're going to have them meet for an hour. That's basically $272 in the cost per meeting. Could that time be better spent? So I don't know about the rest of you, but how many people have had to come to a meeting just in case, or you're there and you're not contributing anything. So leaders, when you're planning these meetings, what is your why? What are you trying to accomplish? Who really needs to be there? And shorter meetings save you money. So maybe you can shave off 5 minutes. So, yeah, can this be an email, which could be a Slack message? Yes. Can this be an email? Should be like the mantra. Can this meeting be an email? Always have an agenda. Just going to speak from pure experience. So, Danique, don't hate me. I in my day job, we've had meetings that were quick chats or strategy sessions, and we really didn't have a clear agenda. And so, what I'm noticing from that is some people weren't as engaged. Some people feel like they didn't have the chance to contribute, and we did have a meeting about that, and now we have an agenda. We're going to record our meeting. So it's also thinking about what's the material that you can provide in advance. If you're having longer meetings, there should be breaks. Some of the other ideas is if it's going to be an all day meeting, kind of break them up into shorter meetings so you can address that overwhelm that some of our audience member talked about, because there's so much information being crammed into your head. And let's not forget being accessible, because you have people with different thinking patterns. For example, autistic people need time to process information. They're not always necessarily going to be able to snap back. People with ADHD have trouble, staying focused for long periods of time. People with prostrate disease, they might need to take frequent bathroom breaks. So stop thinking that everyone operates like you do. And what would you add to that, Rajesh, when we're talking to leaders?
Well, it is very imperative for them to be self aware because um, I don't know how many of you have come across this scenario in a meeting. There are people who tend to take up all of the available space and oxygen. And as a leader, if you are not self aware, you fail to be inclusive in that scenario because you are excluding the people who do not have a chance to speak up and voice their thoughts. So, by being aware situationally, you can let the person who is taking up all of the space to pause and give others a chance to voice their thoughts. That's one. And two, you as a leader should be able to have the quality to read the room. You should be able to gauge when they are mentally checked out. Because if they are, then that is a good indicator to have a break and recharge and come back, whether it's a quick, 5 minute bio break or it's a break to, do a seventh inning stretch, whatever to reset and so you can refocus so that the meeting does not become, oh, we had another unproductive meeting for the day.
Exactly. So, Rajesh, with all this, all these tips, what's a way forward? And for those of you that are watching, there is a ruler stuck in some brown, crumbly, sand like dirt. What comes to mind for me is making that line in the sand and advocating for yourself. And Rajesh, I love what you all do in your meetings to help people say no. If you'd like to share that with our audience today.
Absolutely. So I call this having a guiding principle. So we just draw a confine and we operate within this confine. And what we do is, if I am not contributing to this meeting, if the meeting is not contributing to me, I will leave and reclaim my time, because respecting my time, if I do not respect my time, nobody else will. And also, um, during the meeting, if there are people who kind of say that, oh, I don't mean to hijack this meeting, and what comes out of their mouth is exactly what they said they are not going to do. And we all have to mutually agree to call that kind of behavior out so that we keep the meeting focused towards the outcome, and not having multiple topics that are going off tangent, because that's not what we're here for. And also, one more important thing is a prerequisite for a meeting. If you have to read something in order to come prepared for the meeting, then that is a must. That's not negotiable, because that is going to save everyone's time from waiting for you to be caught up. That way, we can get to the decision making quickly. And
Yeah.
people feel left out, or they feel disempowered because they are not engaged in any decision making process. So when you include people, they feel their voices are heard. That way, they feel connected and be close to the decision or an outcome. So that way, it will keep them connected even after the meeting is done.
Excellent tips. So I'm going to put our story together. Koki is ready to go, and we're opening up a can of mystery. I had plans. I was ready to go. I'm also reminded of, is your cup full? Is your energy tank full? And a lot of times we're drawn into these things and we're running on empty. And being present and open to possibilities when we're looking at some of the challenges, we had an orderly world and we bring in assumptions to things. But if we can be fully present, we can then think strategically. So Koki is thinking strategically and not dismissing the meeting out of hand. It's thinking about, okay, what do I want to accomplish? What are our group accomplishments in this meeting? And a way forward is that line in the sand. I love that the ruler has measurements, and it kind of, I loved your idea as well about those guiding principles and building consensus to a meeting. It is advocating for ourselves. It is saying no. It is being open to feedback if you're a leader, and if you're, um, well, we all are leaders of ourselves. Is leading up and managing up and providing suggestions and feedback for these meetings. We talked about things like with the measuring, breaking things up into smaller chunks and not trying to eat the whole elephant one step at a time. And welcome, Akua. So, anything else from the audience, and then we're going to wrap it up. So just give them time to advocate for themselves. Okay, and mindful. Okay, that's you. Okay, so what's next? So, everyone, thank you again for joining. You can say, yep, I'm good. I had fun. This has been great. You can be team replay and watch the replay. If you would like to further explore if something that myself or Rajesh said connected with you, then you're welcome to reach out. Rajesh runs a 28-day mindfulness challenge, and he is the, what did you call yourself? The agile overlord?
The mindful agility overlord.
The mindful agility overlord. I run Clarity Play Shops and almost anything associated with fun and bringing back joy and creativity back into your life. You can reach both of us via email. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. Ibis, I'm glad that you had fun and this was great. I'm glad glad that and thankful this was helpful. And we will answer any comments in the chat if you're team replay. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you at the next one, probably next month in Mindful or Mindful. And thank you so much, Danique. Appreciate it. Kia Nestor, Akua Kant. I'll see you on Team Replay. Ibis. Thank you all, Mr. and Mrs. Steelers. Thank you all for joining, Oliver, Kia Nestor, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, folks.
I just have to find my StreamYard again. Okay, take care.